Everybody, good morning. Welcome to a Saturday edition of Morning Scone, presented by Barack, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, and Hudco Roofing. HudcoRoofing.com. Hope your weekend's off to a great start. A lot to get to. I am sharing out the YouTube link real quick. Boom. Okay. All right, we'll say some good mornings here. So if you see there in the headline, NC State out of the College World Series due to COVID protocols. So Vanderbilt goes through to the finals. That is so incredibly stupid. I can't believe we're still doing this, number one. Number two, I can't believe that they have 20,000 plus people in the stadium, unmasked, with no restrictions, yet the young, healthy players on the field still have COVID restrictions. You have just robbed these young people of the experience of their lifetime. The worst, I'll say it again. Our response to COVID has been the worst example of societal groupthink in my lifetime. It is stunningly embarrassing and so unfortunate for those guys. Best season of their lives. Many of them, they'll never make it back. So some of them probably never play baseball again. And they get bounced out of the College World Series where they were 2-0, right? They were 2-0. Like they get bounced out of the College World Series where Vanderbilt's got to come back and beat them twice. They get bounced out of the College World Series because of COVID positive tests. Because somebody had the sniffles and lost their taste. A healthy 20-year-old. When everybody else in the damn stadium is unmasked. Jesus Christ. God, I'm so ready to be back on air. It's a good indication that you're doing what you should be doing in life when you go on vacation and you're ready to go back. Like, I am so ready to go back. Horrible. That is absolutely embarrassing. Say some good mornings. Tim Gotro, Rap in Batches, Joey Vincent, Strong Side, Sports Collectibles, what's up? Good morning, y'all. Jason Aguilar, what's up? Matthew Hyde, so Vandy gets extra rest for a championship series they didn't earn a shot to be in. Seems legit, right? So stupid. David Furr, good morning. Hope you enjoyed your family trip. We did, David. Enjoyed the family trip. For those who were keeping up, my nephew Eli, their team lost yesterday, so they were eliminated. They were one win away from the championship game in their bracket. So, like, after the first pool play, the teams get separated into, like, gold, silver, bronze brackets. So they were in the silver. They were one win away from the championship game for their bracket. So, bit of a bummer. But a great week for those guys, no doubt. I mean, look, they're 10 years old. Well, Eli will be 11 on the 4th of July. But he has that experience he'll remember forever. So that was good. But yeah, the family trip was really just great to be with the family and get away and, have that experience. So yeah, it's good. Breezy Bro, what up? Jason Aguilar, a lot of stuff happened since you've been gone. Where do we start? Hey, man, what did I miss? That'll probably be my first line on Monday when I want us to go back on AFR. Hey, what did I miss anything? Oh, by the way, Tracy, I don't know if she's watching, Tracy Morrow texted me on my text line yesterday and said, "You need to sell an advertisement on the bottom of your coffee cup. We see that so much." So I just saw it because I went, not a bad thought. Also, Darren James. Need to sell your home? Call Darren James. Brian and Andy Pinn, good morning from the middle of Nebraska. All I see is corn. That is plentiful there. David Furr, total BS, especially since they already let them play in front of a packed house yesterday. That's pretty much it. It is nothing but optics. That's all this is. It's optics. It's stupid. And listen, I'll tell y'all, I think I told you this yesterday. I wrote my preseason column for 225 magazine for their LSU football preview. And I basically looked at it, did like a blurb on each game on the schedule, like game by game, and I set it up like a little bit of a spoiler here, like Purple and Gold Redemption Tour 2021, something like that, kind of like concert tour dates. And I even put, as if COVID taught us nothing else, it's write your schedule in pencil, and because things are subject to change. And I'll be darned, a day after I submit that, all this crap happens with NC State. I feel so bad for them, man. I don't know that NC State would have won the national championship, but who's to say they wouldn't? Yeah. Horrible. So now basically what you're saying is to everybody, you better go get vaccinated. Because otherwise you are going to be at the mercy of all their stupid testing. Whatever. Spurge, what's up? Stephen Miller, good morning. Absolute pile of crap, NCAA. So true. What's up, Ray Wright? Pit stops for hope. Spot on Scone. This is beyond absurd. Heartbroken for the players, coaches who work so hard to be in the position. So true, man. And it would be one thing if the rest of Omaha or the CWS or all NCAAs, whatever, were still adhering to COVID protocols. It would be one thing if they were at 10% capacity and everybody was masked and doing all the stupid stuff just for optics that we did all last year that made no sense whatsoever. Like, if we were still doing that, that's one thing. But, like, we're not doing that anymore. Nobody's doing that. I mean, COVID restrictions are lifted everywhere. Why are we still pretending this is a thing? Grass is wet as hell, but I gotta cut it before it rains again. LOL. Man, that's when you say, nah, I'm not putting all the ruts in my yard. Forget it. Just get it when it dries. Be fair, what's the story at NC and COVID? So NC State is out of the College World Series because they had players out due to COVID protocols. Ridiculous. I mean, remember, this is an NC State team that went to Fayetteville and beat number 1 Arkansas. Like, they were certainly capable of beating anybody if they went to Fayetteville and won that series. Wow. Tim Gotro, feel sorry for the young man at NC State. Losing is one thing. This is straight up screw job like pro wrestling. Yep. Let's see. Brady Smith makes 0 sense. I think it's fair to point out everyone knew the protocol was going into the tournament. Players chose not to get vaccinated. But Brady, this is the problem I have. You cannot force people to take a vaccine if they don't want to take a vaccine. Like, I'm not sitting there trying to start like a war on all this stuff, but have you actually read how some of the research now on the COVID vaccine where they're starting to notice side effects? Like, of course, like, it's a brand new vaccine. Of course there could be side effects. I don't blame people for not wanting to get the vaccine if they don't want to get it. There's a whole thing with Jeff Landry here. trying to find that story I read yesterday. Anyway, I don't blame people for not wanting to get the vaccine if you don't want to get it. Like, you can't force someone to go get a vaccine. Stupid. Brian Ashcraft, Portnoy was epic. I didn't see what he did. Dave Portnoy's the Barstool guy. I don't know what he did. Trivia Carter, what's up, man? Spurge, when will the 225 be announced? Got you and the Tom plays in the game. Yes, indeed. So, like, the best of 225 awards. You know what, Spurge? Hang on one second. Let me just give you that answer right now. So, I was nominated for best of 225 again this year, as were Shelly was nominated for best. Shelly Brown, Tom Play, was nominated for best local artist, of course, of Roni the Tiger fame. So, fired up for her. God, I hope she wins. That would be so great. Let's see. Late June. We'll announce the winners with the release of our July 2021 issue in late June. That's on their website. So it's coming up late June for the July issue. They'll announce. There is a, you know what, Spurge? There is a, if y'all be patient with me, I'm sorry. I also have some stuff I want to tell you about Jay Johnson. I had a really, really good conversation with a buddy who's a longtime scout who kind of had some convos and dug around and found out a lot about Jay Johnson. It was really, really encouraging. I'll tell you all that in a second. If I can, I'm trying to find this. Sorry, Spurge, man, I know you've been asking. I'm trying to find the date for the best 225. Oh, there it is. Here it is. Boom. It is June 29th. June 29th, they're having an event, 5:30 to 8 p.m., River Center Branch Library. It's a 90s theme party. It's for the best 225 stuff. June 29th. We'll say today is the 26th. So Tuesday. All right, let's see. Krista Ducote, what's up? Michael Sutherland, AFR needs you back. Thank you, Michael. I'll be back on Monday. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to being back. Brandon Atchison, looked like Vandy's going to repeat. All advantage goes to them being able to save the race. That's the biggest part of it all, right? I mean, the fact that Vandy can reset their pitching now while State and Texas have to play again today, then both teams get the day off Monday, or Sunday, then play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, presumably. The fact that Vandy can reset their pitching is a huge advantage. No doubt. Kevin Sparks, NCAA can kick rocks. Amen. Hey, Dad. Good morning. Patrick McKenzie. Good morning. You missed Pigeon Forge yet? Always love it up there in the winter. You know what, Patrick? Honestly, didn't love Pigeon Forge. Like, Pigeon Forge, here's what I would say. The whole area was beautiful. The mountains, the terrain, the park, the waterfalls, like all that was gorgeous. The landscape was gorgeous. Pigeon Forge itself, the town, it was definitely not for me. It is just an overrun tourist trap. It looks like a carnival. I mean, that's not and listen, if you have young kids or something like that and you want to go do like the mini golf thing and the show theater and the go-karts and whatever, the junk souvenir shops, the mountain version of Alvin's Island, you know what I mean? It's like, that's all Pigeon Forge, and that was not for me. Like downtown Gatlinburg was very touristy, but it was more shops and restaurants and all that sort of stuff. And that was a little better. I honestly just more enjoyed our time up at the house we were staying at in the mountains. So, but if you're talking about just as a whole, yes, it was beautiful. Andrew Brister, good morning. Let's see. Morning guy, they handed an inferior team the title. Well, like, I guess you're talking about the NCAA. I mean, I don't know that I would say that. I don't know that I would say that Vanderbilt or State or Texas, whoever does win it, would be an inferior team. But it's just, NC State had earned the right to be in the position they were in, and they got screwed. Jeff McKithen, good morning. Nicole Havard, good morning. Ryan Dixon, inability to get a variance on protocol shows Mark Emmert is a horde leader. Come on, NCAA, terrible. I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know how you have 20,000 people in the stands, unmasked, not needing to show proof of vaccine, but the young, healthy guys on the field have their life's dream taken away from them. Stupid. Jesus. Like, what are we doing? At some point, common sense has to reign. Ugh. Brandon DeVille, how about that? What if NC State would have won yesterday? Would the Texas-Mississippi State game last night have been for the Natty? I guess so, right? I mean, if NC State had eliminated Vanderbilt, then basically whoever would have won out of Mississippi State, Texas, or this game tonight would be for the championship. There would be no championship series. Wow, I didn't think about that. Kevin Sparks, good morning. UCBO, what's up? Kevin Toller, what's up? Let's see. How do you really feel about following the science? What's up, bro? I really don't want to go down the COVID rant rabbit hole again, but as I have said forever, there are many different ways to practice science. There are many different ways to practice medicine. For any doctor who is going to be super conservative about COVID, you'll find ones that shrug their shoulders and say, there's not much to worry about. Just as long as you're not in one of these at-risk categories, elderly, immunodeficient, obese. As long as you're not one of those, you're going to be good. You'll be fine. Whatever. Robert Anderson, good morning. Loved your guest host on AFAR. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the kind feedback, and mostly I appreciate them for filling in. I know I've said it, but I'll keep saying it. It is not easy to find people who are willing to do that show for 3 hours solo. It's just not. Like we start the process of trying to vet or to invite people like weeks and weeks in advance to fill those shows before I leave, and it's every year it's a struggle. Every year. Brandon Atchison, sucks. NC State played them so hard, had a chance to win, playing a bunch of guys that barely played this year. Just terrible. Yep. Shelby, they should postpone the rest of the series so NC State has enough eligible players. Shelby, I don't think that's a terrible idea, but my guess is with contracts, with TD Ameritrade, with the networks, like all that is worked out. I don't know that they could go 11 to 14 days or whatever to 10 to 14 days and then resume, unless they had to do it somewhere else, which I don't think they will, but they do. Because then you're talking about going into the draft and recruiting season and all that sort of stuff. Jamie Tanner, Matthew Hyde, Jerry DeLucky, NCAA makes my head hurt. They fill the stands to packed houses, exactly. NC State only had 13 players, almost pulled it off. So true. Jerry, how about Aaron Nola? 10 consecutive strikeouts, which tied the MLB record set by Tom Seaver in, let me see what year it was, hang on, in 1970. Tom Seaver struck out his final 10 hitters in a 2-1 win over the Padres at Shea Stadium in 1970. Incredible. The mark for consecutive strikeouts held 51 years until Nola did it. Gallagher. Brennan Kluka. Morning, Matt Hudko, guys. On my roof right now. Snap me a picture, Brennan. I got a hat for you, too, Brennan. Thank you, man. We're very grateful for the opportunity, and, man, I know it was a process. But, look, Brennan's a great example. I've known Brennan a long time. But that's an example of our people working hard to get that claim approved and get that deal done, and we're happy it's working out. Let's see. Toller, BS Matt, 2 unvax tested positive, 4 vax tested positive after their logic and their science. I didn't read that. So 4 vaccinated players tested positive. Wow. I need to read. I haven't read that. Well, I need to go read it to make sure that I have no reason to doubt you, Kevin. I mean, I know who you are, but you mean to tell me 4? So basically, it just, if that's true, well, I don't know why you'd be lying, but it doesn't say in this. It might be convenient. It's not. That's why I didn't see it. It's not in the ESPN article. Anyway. Wish COVID protocols had been in place when LSU played Alabama January 2012. Touche. Let's see. Trivia, thoughts on the Supreme Court ruling on college student benefits. So, honestly, trivia, I didn't read too deep into it when it happened, but my understanding was that was just basically validating cost of attendance, which is what the Power Five was already paying. If you remember back in 2012, 13, Mike's Live at SEC Media Days pushed for cost of attendance, which allowed the Power Five to pay their student athletes a stipend, which they labeled as their full cost of attendance. And some states was different; they can get $5,000 or whatever it might be a semester. But as I read it, that's what that was. Unless if there's something deeper into it that I would need to go that I just missed again skimming it. But anyway. Stephen Miller can't recall one game or one series this season canceled due to COVID. Now in the Final Four, it happens. NC State had to win the ACC tourney just to get into the tournament, and to get eliminated like this is atrocious. I agree. Brian Ashcraft, 2 to 3 kids that had the vaccination tested positive. Okay, that's the second person that mentioned it. I didn't read that, but I'll take your word for it, which is even more absurd, right? Like, doesn't that speak to the absurdity where if you actually got the vaccine and you tested positive, well, first of all, if you got the vaccine, why are you even being tested? Like, that's kind of the point, isn't it? Like, you get the vaccine so you can bypass their testing protocols. Sure, yeah, I had enough shots in the Marines. I'm going to pass on this one. Connor O'Neill, this invalidates the CWS champion in my eyes. I mean, look, whoever wins it is they'll always be named the champion. They'll be listed as the champion. They'll have the trophy. And 50 years from now, we won't remember this, but history won't remember it. I mean, like, but it's terrible for those kids, man. Ugh. Bobby, what's up? Thank you, Rapping Batcher said y'all on YouTube, y'all hit the like button, only 14 likes. Yeah, we're at 58 watching, 17 likes. Yeah, please hit the like button if you're there on YouTube. Appreciate everybody who watches, and we're growing the YouTube channel a bunch. So just appreciate everybody who you hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, and please hit the like. If you're on, I say this every day, I know, but if you're on mobile, X out of the live chat, hit the thumbs up, and then you'll see there's a live chat icon right there. Just tap that again, and then the live chat comes back up. You don't miss anything. It doesn't take you out of the app or anything. It just shows you the display where you can hit the thumbs up. Let's see. Lee Ballio, hope by September protocols do not affect the first week of college football. Lee, I mean, this incident is an indicator, clearly, that it's still a possibility. I mean, they're trying to get people to get these players to get vaccinated and coaches to get vaccinated, so that way they don't have to go through all these COVID protocols. But again, it's just optics. Look at what happened. I mean, if vaccinated players were testing positive, I need to read on it then. Why were vaccinated players even being tested if they were vaccinated? Kyle, general consensus: NC State got screwed. That's how I feel about it. I don't know what that has to do with the presidential election, but okay. Hey, again, Kyle. I don't know how much you pay attention. I'm not political. I don't care. So, whatever. There's a picture going around with Fauci with a Vandy baseball jersey. Merrick Mathern, Matt, how much vacation time do you get? So for the whole year, Merrick, I think I get it accrue like you accrue over time. So I've been there 11 years. I think I get something like maybe 5 weeks or something like 5, 6 weeks, something like that. I need to check actually. I don't know, but I've never taken all my vacation, and I'm limited when I can take my vacation. So was definitely taking it. Mostly what I'll probably do this year is take a day here or there, like if possible. You know, if there's something coming up and I want to have a long weekend, I might take a Friday or take a Monday, something like that. Brody Dupree, Matt, you're about to tell us what Scott said about Jay Johnson. Oh, thank you, Brody. Okay, so I had a long conversation. Thank you, by the way. So I had a long conversation yesterday with a scout who's a friend of mine, who, and I hope you understand that when, I think a lot of people may not know the role that scouts play. Scouts, I'm talking about Major League Scouts, they are really the ones that build rosters. Scouts are the ones that they have areas. So if you're like an area scout, right? So like if you're a scout for, just pick a team, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Marlins, whoever, like you'll have an area. So you will go to tournaments, to high school games, to college games, to showcase events, and you will go put eyes on all these players because there's so many players. You'll go put eyes on these players and make basically the recommendation on who to draft, who to sign, what to offer, all that stuff to the front office. They have a tremendous amount of sway and influence at the grassroots level. They're the ones talking to the coaches and the players and the parents of the players and all, trying to work out deals to get players signed and what they'll sign for and yada yada. Anyway, so you don't often see or hear from many scouts, but those are the ones at the grassroots, very much in the game. And so they're very familiar with college coaches and high school coaches and players and talent and all that sort of stuff. The person I spoke with, we probably spoke for about 20 minutes, and my takeaways of the conversation were Jay Johnson is an intense recruiter. Like, big time intense recruiter. Guys gravitate to him, want to play for him. Like, it was not a surprise about Romero flipping. Now, this guy did also tell me that, so if you miss it, Romero is the kid from the shortstop from California who announced right after Jay Johnson was introduced that he was flipping to LSU. He said there's very little shot at all that Romero ever shows up at LSU because he's very likely a round one guy coming out of high school. So it's unlikely he ever shows up at LSU, but still, that's great. It's an indicator that kid committed to the coach and not the school, which is a really good indicator. The other thing we talked about, he said his intense recruiter, great energy. Like the kids will play very hard for him. Not the greatest X's and O's guy, but he'll have better players, and so he's going to win. His he handles hitters and is a great hitting coach, does not handle pitcher. So hiring a good pitching coach is paramount. I asked about pitching coach, and we talked specifically about Rob Childress. And of course, Childress was the A&M coach, and he loved that idea. So what's the knock? Because some people seem to push back. Say, well, he just didn't get over the hump as a head coach at A&M, and it was you're recruiting position players and hitters. They always pitched it well at A&M, which they did. I mean, you know the names, guys like Asa Lacy and the guys that had come through that program. But he said basically he hired a new recruiting coordinator this past year, and they just didn't give him enough time to rebuild the roster, and they moved. So, because new AD, Ross Bjork, and all that stuff. Said, but as far as recruiting and coaching pitching, Childress is great at handling his pitching staff. So if he's the guy, that'd be great. And something else he mentioned, which was interesting to me, was roster management. And I hadn't thought. I mean, I obviously saw it, but he made it real whenever we were talking. So, for example, he said, when you have roster limits like you do right now, we got the 25-man roster with the 11.7. He said you can't waste a roster spot by having multiple of the same guy. And so the example he gave is like, okay, so you have a guy like Will Safford on the roster, who's center field, second base, 5'8", short stature, and then you've got signed this kid for next year, Holt, I think he's a Parkview kid, who's basically the same guy, 5'8", small guy, center field, second base. Like, you don't only one guy could play. So there's no reason to have two of the same guy on the roster. You'd rather get another arm. And I think the greatest example of that is what you're seeing with Mississippi State right now. They have this treasure trove of guys coming out of the bullpen that throw 91 to 94, every one of them. And it's like, how many of them they got? All of them, because that's how Lemonis has built that roster, and he's done a really good job. So I think that's going to be a big part of how they fit the roster. The other thing, too, is I think you're going to see, you're going to see LSU move away from take a player to get a player. And I'm not saying this is good, bad, right, wrong, and certainly I think Nolan did a great job. But I think there were instances where you saw this. For example, and I hate to throw out names because I know it's going to, I don't know, but I'll give you an example. So Alex Milazzo and Collier Cranford were teammates of Zachary. Well, Milazzo is an elite defensive catcher. You wanted Milazzo. Well, you took Cranford also. And Collier Cranford's a really good player, but Collier Cranford probably should have gone to ULL or Southeastern and played every day there. Like, he could have stepped on campus day one and been an everyday player. At LSU, he's not. And so you took up a spot there that could have been another arm, right? I mean, when you think about the lack of depth on the staff, it kind of materializes. And so again, this was the conversation I was having with the scout. And it made a lot of sense. Said, and specifically with Childress, he could recruit Houston and pluck guys from there if you need arms. What this guy told me, said, within the 6'10 loop, if you just recruit the 6'10 loop, so there are 100 high school players inside the 6'10 loop that throw 91 to 94. Like, just go get those guys and load up your bullpen. And it was really, really enlightening as far as how the roster had been constructed, how it's likely to change in its construction moving forward. The reputation Johnson has, the energy he has. I don't know necessarily that they feel like they have to have somebody with local ties, because he can build those bridges, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's somebody on staff in some role that can help with that, even if it's not one of the on-field roles. But but it was a really good convo. Again, if you're just jumping aboard, maybe scroll back. I was talking about a conversation I had yesterday, a long conversation with a buddy who's been a long time scout who's telling me a lot about Jay Johnson. So it was really, really enlightening. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see him press conferences Monday at 4:30. It'll be while we're on AFR, so we'll carry it. But really excited. Jason Tarver, what's up? Skip, what's up? Oh man, I'm 15 minutes behind on comments here. Charlie Cavell, Matt and E-Rock trust Papa Rock's cooking. Charlie, Matt, I want to know is what did Nola do to his teammates? They give him absolutely no run support. I know. You know what? It might be one of those things where psychologically, you got your stud on the mound, so you just look at like Jacob deGrom. Same thing. I mean, it's why I hate the win-loss record as a stat for pitchers. It's stupid. Nolan Daigle, why do I need to take a vaccine for something with a 99.98% chance of survival? Lon Hamilton, we're getting people in our hospital that were vaxxed and testing positive. I'm not surprised. Because it mutates. I mean, it's like any other virus. It mutates. Like people who get the flu vaccine and sometimes test positive for the flu. It happens. Tony Williams, good morning. Brandon Atchison. Shelby, Kendall tweeted a free D1 article, broke it down. 2 non-vaccinated players got popped, which triggers the whole being tested. 4 vaccinated players were then found to be positive. And they never would have known. Stupid. Lost in the NCAA debacle was Texas' win over Mississippi State. I was watching the end of that game. I put it on and watched State tie it in the 8th. And then we're putting Drew to bed, so we actually put on Daniel's Hiker's Neighborhood. And then when he fell asleep and we came back to it, Texas had the lead again. I was like, what the hell happened? Oh, man. Shelby, you know how much Bayou water I've drank? How many times I went swimming with flesh-eating bacteria and the brain-eating amoeba in Grand Isle? I'll take my chances with the sniffles. That's pretty good. Oh, man. Let's see. What's your opinion on Jay Johnson? I talked about that yesterday. I love the direction of the hire. I don't think it had to be someone with ties to LSU. I love that he's young. He's the youngest coach LSU's hired since Jack LeMabe. Skip was 45 when he was hired. Smoke was 47. Maneri was 49. Jay Johnson's 44. I like that he's a dynamic recruiter by all accounts. I love that he handles hitting. I think it's going to be a new infusion of life and energy into the program. Supposedly his interviews went exceptionally well, and he's already pounding the pavement, which is great. I mean, the fact that within hours of him being announced, or the news breaking, I should say, he was already on the phone with former players, current players, families of current players, his recruits. I mean, it's a different type of energy that hadn't been here in a while, man. It's not a knock on Paul, but it's just like, yeah, however you want to say it, if you want to say it was stale, like it was, look, there's a reason Paul stepped aside. It was time. It was time. And now you have this whole new injection of energy, and I like it, man. Let's see how he constructs the roster, what guys come back, which guys, they keep, which guys aren't back. It's got to construct a rotation, got to hire a staff, but I like it. I like it a lot. Juan, what's up, man? Dustin Fontenot, 3 remaining teams should sit out and protest as a big FU to the NCAA. Would be interesting to see. They won't, but true. Spurge, COVID death rate in the U.S. I have a better chance of dying crossing the street. That's it. I feel like we're ripping the scab off the COVID conversation again. I was really enjoying not talking about it. Keith Walker, is Russell Reserve 13-year any good? Man, I like all of Russell's Reserve. I think they do a fantastic job. Got a lot of barrel picks. Yeah. They're literally trying to bribe people to get vaccinated with the $1 million state lottery. It's crazy. All right. Cliff Nelson, what's up? Good morning. Blake Robinson. I don't know. Ask him about the brackets. Like, why didn't the loser bracket teams Texas and Vandy play each other? I don't think they're going to change the bracket. It's just that's how it's set up to where NC State had to forfeit and were eliminated. So Vandy moves on. Same thing like what happened in the NCAA basketball tournament where one of the teams was it Virginia? Who was it that? Oh no. Well, it was one of those opening round games where a team had to forfeit. NC State board says their AD has brought in their attorney to file an emergency injunction against the NCAA. None of their players are sick. Brady Smith, it's odd the NCAA adjusted the crowd protocols, not the player protocols. Optics, like you said. Yep. Let's see, Janet, will LSU have a press conference to introduce Johnson? Yes, it's Monday, 4:30. Monday at 4:30, so it'll be during AFR. Blaine Bobuff, morning. All this COVID stuff has gotten so out of hand. Ridiculous what they did to those kids. Agreed. Quay 14 Thomas, can't wait till you're back on AFR. T-Bob did great in his fill-in day, though. Thanks, man. Looking forward to it. I'll be back on Monday. Yeah, thanks to Ronnie, T-Bob, Musso, Brian Holland, Renato, Jacques, Ron Higgins, and Doug Thompson. 8 shows, man. Thanks to everybody who filled in while I was out. Melody Benedict, agree, excited, love we're talking LSU baseball even though we're not in the CWS. It's a coaching hire has that effect, right? Matthew Godwin, what's up, man? Let's see, Mike Tiger 24 TB. I like Johnson doesn't have ties to LSU. Not sure there's a history of hiring someone with ties to the school working out so well in any sport. I'd have to think about it, but there's some validity there. Smoke replaced Skip, and that didn't go so great. Johnny Jones obviously was that guy, and that didn't go so great. You can go way back and look at Jerry Stovall, who, of course, played and coached at LSU and became the coach after Bo Ryan tragically died. And Stovall did make it to an Orange Bowl, was the coach of the year in 82. Was fired after 83. They brought in Arnsparger. But yeah, that Stovall might be the one. If depending on how you grade his time. Let's see. George Reitmeyer, why does Glenn G not like the hire? I don't know. I haven't talked to Glenn. I don't know what Glenn thinks, and I really don't. Again, no disrespect. I just don't care what Glenn thinks. I know that sounds so bad. I'm not to say his opinion or anybody's opinion wrong. I just don't care. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I give mine. People can choose to listen to it or hear it or not. I just don't care. Cliff Nelson, who would you prefer the pitching coach to be? I'm good with Rob Childress. He's got a the history in the SEC. He knows the venues. He knows recruiting. He certainly knows recruiting in Texas, which LSU will have to do. He knows the ballparks, the personnel in the league. I think he has a decided leg up. All right, shout out to Brock as always. Baptist Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing. You need an orthopedist, go to Brock. After Hours Clinic, of course, open today and every weekend. And Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Let's see. Skip didn't have ties to LSU. No, Skip did not have ties to LSU. I think that is an overrated angle. Merrick, it's okay. The majority of us don't care what Glenn thinks. No, you don't understand though, Merrick. It's not just Glenn. I just don't care what anybody thinks. Like, and I know when I say that, I'm trying to think of a better way to say that doesn't sound so conceited. I'm not saying that other people's opinions don't matter or they're invalid or I'm the only one that can be right. Like that, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, I don't consume other opinion media. I don't read other people's columns. I don't listen to other people's shows. I don't watch the opinion talk shows on TV because I just don't care what those people say. Because it's not, like, I just have no desire to hear what they have to say because it's not going to influence anything that I do on my show. Like, my opinion is my opinion formulated based on the stuff that happened. I don't need to hear what somebody else thinks about it because I just don't care what somebody else thinks about it. Like, my job is that I get paid to give an opinion on things, and so I do. And some people may like it, some people may not, some people may agree, some people may not, whatever. And then I'll just go on with the rest of my life. So I hope that makes sense. So I don't know. I hope that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that sounds stupid. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. Let's see. Johnson is the baseball version of Coach O. Not exactly, Henry. You see, Johnson's already been a successful head coach, having been to Omaha twice and run 2 different programs successfully. Ed Ogeron was 3-21 in the SEC. He was an abject failure, and nobody else would have hired him. But whatever. Craig, I'm with Terry. The Vandy Whistler needs to change it up. Some yin yang twins. I love it. Kirk, what's up? Posted the Hudco hat picture tagged Hudco. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So Kirk got his Hudco hat sent up to Omaha, and he was at the College World Series yesterday. Put the hat on the CWS statue and snapped a photo. It was down low though, Kirk. Like, if you get a chance to do a redo, maybe more prominently location. I'm not trying to, beggars can't be choosers sort of thing, but it was low. I had to look for it, find it there at the bottom, but we appreciate it, man. Thank you very, very much. It's good stuff. Hope you enjoy the games. Patrick Cason, what's up? Let's see. Let's see. Skip. Hope Johnson doesn't close practice. He's not used to people coming to practice, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't. Well, I would also think, like, even though there might not be interest for people to come to practice at Arizona, I don't think there would be a closed practice, right? Yeah. Craig Duncan, you think any players from Arizona will transfer? Maybe, Craig. And candidly, I haven't looked too deep at their roster to know what underclassmen might be open to doing so or that LSU would covet. But I think that's always a possibility. Look at Kim Mulkey. She's pulled a couple of players from Baylor already, and I think that happens naturally when guys want to follow their coach. Where are we? Where are we? Brian Arsenault question: did Scott hire Childress at A&M? No. Rob Childress was at Texas A&M for like 16 years. So he was there. He predated Scott Woodward. But they obviously have a relationship. I don't know what their relationship is like from when Scott was there. Brandon Atchison, Scone, tell E-Rock thank you for sharing you with us for Morning Scone on your vacation. Look forward to this show when I'm able to tune in. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that kindly, man. Yeah, we enjoyed doing it. Glad y'all got to see Olivia and Sophia and Eli, my nieces and nephews. Reese, however, Reese did not participate. She's a little shy, but the others did, and that was fun. I know they really enjoyed it too. The Vandy Whistler gave NC State COVID. Oh man. Let's see. Brian, that's why you won't be in stadium this fall because of the virus is not gone. What? I mean, everyone is announcing 100% capacity. What are you talking about? I mean, the virus will never be gone because you can't eliminate a virus. It's just it's building up immunity to it and managing it. Like the flu's been around for 100 years. Of course, it's a virus. Viruses don't go away. You can't kill a virus. What are you talking about, Brian? I don't know what your point there was, but I think you missed the mark. Like you realize there's stadiums at capacity right now. I mean, TD Ameritrade's at capacity right now. Of course, they're going to be at capacity. Even the most liberal state, California, has announced that UCLA announced that the Rose Bowl will be 100% capacity. So I don't know what you're getting at there. I think you're missing the mark. Sean McKinnon. Morning, Matt. Sure you heard about Hilliard's father. Sad news. I did hear about that. Mikhail Hilliard's father. It happened while we were gone. And it was like right before Father's Day too. My gosh. Certainly our condolences to the Hilliard family for sure. Let's see. Jay Johnson's getting a ready-made stud team. Jason, I don't know that I would go that far. There is talent on this team. Obviously, starting with Dylan Cruz. I'm curious to see if Trey Morgan stays at first base or if he moves to the outfield. We know those two guys can hit. Jordan Thompson, depending on what happens this year with the draft, likely gonna lock in at shortstop. You will have K. Doty back next year as well. So you have a really good core. Barring something unforeseen, Milazzo will be your catcher, and you hope that with some good coaching, he would come around offensively. But man, you've got to get you gotta develop the bottom of your lineup. I mean, remember, like the bottom of the lineup this year was a sieve, and you got to figure out your rotation. I mean, you lost your entire starting rotation, so you're going to lose your starting rotation. So there's big questions to answer, man, but they can do it. Let's see, Brian, what about the title line investigation? Coach O involved. What's going to happen? Yeah, Brian, that's... Well, remember a couple things. The Title IX lawsuits that have been filed, some of those will literally take years to be resolved. That's one thing. The further along those go, and you go through discovery, the more information about that stuff is going to become even more public. And so then you start sort of resetting the news cycle on that over and over again. Also remember that the NCAA still has not announced whether or not they are accepting LSU's self-imposed penalties on football. The bowl ban, the scholarship reductions, and basketball is still looming as well. That could I believe happen before the start of football season. So there's a lot of stuff that's gonna, because someone asked earlier, is Coach O in trouble this year? Yeah, yes, flatly. I think and I know for some, it's hard to take my opinion on the matter with a grain of salt because of the criticism that I've levied. The flip side of it is when he's deserved praise, I've given praise too. But this is one of those instances where I'll tell you, he's working for an AD that did not hire him. The title line stuff is legitimately serious. The culture within the football program last year, as I told you then, and many of you just weren't ready to hear the message a year ago when I talked about it. But you're understanding it now, how bad it was. When you have to keep going back to your employer, hat in hand, asking for more money to fire coaches, that didn't work out. When you acknowledge that you hired coaches without interviewing them, like these are all X marks. These are all X's in the pro and con ledger that keep getting longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. And people say, well, they just won the title 2 years ago. That's true. And it was an amazing season. And I would point out that so much of that team circumstantially had little to nothing to do with his ability as a coach. For example, point to Joe Burrow. Why was Joe Burrow on campus? LSU needed a quarterback because they whiffed on signing a quarterback in the 2018 class. The irony is that failure brought you Joe Burrow. The reason you got Joe Burrow, really, you had that open door, was Bill Bush's relationship with Jimmy Burrow. Well, Bill Bush was on staff because Dave Aranda handpicked him. Why was Dave Aranda on staff? Because Les Miles hired him. You know, like there's that connect the dots that kind of works out. I mean, I don't want to completely take away any and all credit. I mean, that's unfair. But I think the question you ask is, are you in a situation where Ed Ogeron is more Gene Chizik, Larry Coker, guys that weren't great coaches that won championships because circumstantially they had that one magic year and a great player and a great roster, whatever that happened, you know what I mean? Or is it possible he could do it again? I think that's the question you ask. And I'll remind you this, y'all. John Brady went to the Final Four in 2006. The next year, they took a step back. Halfway through the following season, he was fired. Les Miles won a national championship in 2007. 2008, they took a step back. 2009, the Clockett game against Ole Miss. Y'all, they wanted to fire Les. Like, the boosters leaving that Ole Miss game had the money. And Bobby Jindal basically squashed it because he didn't like the optics of paying a coach's buyout while they were in the middle of a state higher education funding crisis. Like, Don't think, well, just because a year ago, you know what I mean? Like that argument doesn't play, especially when you're talking about an athletic director that didn't hire this coach. So I know this is a long, long answer, but what I would tell you is they win 9 games, fine. 9-3 is fine. 8-4, depending on how it looks, but probably okay. 7-5, they lose 5 games again, y'all. They lose 5 games again. I don't think he makes it. Now, my opinion is I think they go 9-3. I do. I think they will lose to Bama. I think they're going to lose at Ole Miss. And if they can go 2-1 in the home games against Florida, Auburn, and A&M, that would put 2 marquee wins on your resume for the season. Would put you at 9-3. You'd be right there in the mix again for a New Year's 6 game. And I think my opinion is I think that's how the season goes. I do think I think they'll beat Auburn first year under Brian Harsin. I don't know what Auburn's going to be. I think LSU will win that game. So if they can split Florida and A&M in Baton Rouge, they'll likely lose at Bama, and I think they're going to lose at Ole Miss. As much as I hate to say that, Ole Miss was this. LSU needed a plum. That was a knockdown drag out last year in Baton Rouge in the rain, and LSU made the plays and won it. Now you have to go on the road, and I think Ole Miss is going to have the best offense in the SEC this year, just flatly. So I think Ole Miss is going to beat LSU. So 9-3. I think if you're 9-3, he's good. But for those saying, but if you're just sort of casually casting aside, going, nah, man, look, they just won a title. Like, it's so much deeper than that. So, I heard a honk. No, that wasn't Lenny. Thought it might be. Let's see. Cliff Nelson, Morgan's glove at first base is golden. Why move him to the outfield? Who'd you put at first base instead? Cliff, because first base is not a premium defensive position. If you have someone that's that athletic, put them in the outfield where you actually need someone with a good glove. You can find any big overweight dude and have him stand on first base and catch a ball when it's thrown to him. The other thing about Morgan, and a lot of people brought this up, and they're right. Terrio's talked about this a bunch, is Morgan has a lot of flash at first base that's unnecessary. How many times do you see Morgan step into the baseline, like behind the bag, to make a play? Like, it makes the throw look terrible that he had to step behind the bag when technically what he should do is step toward the throw and range. That's how fundamentally, technically, you play the position. The error he made in, actually, I think they ruled it a throw-in error on Thompson, but in the Super Regional, I remember the play. Had he reached, he could have, and backhanded, he could have caught the ball on the fly. It was low, but he could have caught it, and he stayed behind it and tried to pick it, and he missed it. That's the kind of thing. Like, I guess my point is, he makes a lot of great plays, no doubt. He makes a lot of average plays look way tougher than they should be. And his future is not going to be at first base in the pros. It'll be in the outfield because nobody puts a premium glove at first base. That's why. So if I can keep Morgan's bat in the lineup and have him play outfield at a premium position and get another big bat in the lineup and just have him stand on first base and catch the ball, cool. Wes Ray, Sykes, Orvis, Will Frizzell from A&M this year, just mashing homers, standing on first base, catching the ball. That's it. Blake Robinson, almost tried to protect Hugh Freeze at all costs, but quick to fire Ogeron. Blake, Ed Ogeron was 3-21 at Ole Miss in the SEC. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Can you, Blake, flip this, okay? What if the coach at LSU over 3 seasons won 3 SEC games? Would you be eager to keep that guy? Come on, bro. Brandon Reese, if they fired Coach O, who would they get to replace him? Don't know. The Clockett game versus Ole Miss will live on in YouTube history as a top 5 complete botchery. It was awful. Now, that season, they still managed to get to the Capital One Bowl where they lost to Penn State. And then in 2010, they built and won the Cotton Bowl. In 2011, they had the big crescendo. So Les got it back on track. It looked very different, but he got it back on track. But my only point is just don't assume that just because they won a championship 2 seasons ago, that gives you a lifetime pass. It does not and will not. Like, especially when you're working for an AD that didn't hire you and you have some other massive blemishes on your file. Put Travinsky at first because he can't stop anything behind the plate. Matthew Lusto, Morgan, Gio, Cruz in the outfield, maybe. But I think you got kids coming in that are going to take that spot. Like, I don't think DiGiacomo is a starting player on LSU next year. Morgan and Cruz, yes. I don't think DiGiacomo will be. Brandon Reese, I think we can go 11-1. I think you're a gigantic homer, and I respect the fact that you love your school, and I do too. But yeah, LSU's not going 11-1 this year. Frankie Collada. What's up, Frankie Collada? Let another picture show up. See how long Scott hangs with him. Oh, picture like an Ojo with yeah. Christopher Merrill. Terrio talks about Morgan's prep, footwork, and extension all the time. Actually, he doesn't. He talks about Morgan. He's one of the ones who talks about Morgan being too flashy at first base. Now, he'd be pissed at him if he was an infielder throwing to Morgan, and Morgan was consistently making his throws look worse than they really were. I don't know what Jay Johnson will do. I mean, I've never met, never spoken to Jay Johnson. I'll hear his press conference on Monday, and we'll see what ultimately they do when they get around to fall ball. I'm just telling you from conversations that I've had with people at the next level, Trey Morgan is not going to be a first baseman in professional baseball, period. Like, that's not going to happen. When you have someone who is athletic and can run and has a good glove, you don't stick them at first base. You put them in the outfield. Or the left side of the infield, but he can't play that because he's a lefty. So moving to the outfield is really his only proposition, which is what he's going to do. I mean, Trey Morgan in professional baseball is not going to be a first baseman. He is going to be an outfielder. Brian, if Mikey Romero comes to LSU, would like to see it shortstop and Thompson move to third. Remember, he's a 22 kid, so, and Brian, I mean, you could get lucky, right? I mean, like you got lucky with Dylan Cruz. Like you got lucky with Alex Bregman. Bregman breaks a bone in his hand and tells scouts if he's not taking a round 1, he's going to LSU. So he ends up at LSU because he had a broken bone in his hand and didn't play his senior year. LSU got lucky. Dylan Cruz, it was one of those things where he wanted a big number. His senior season was cut because of COVID. Didn't have the opportunity to show off to scouts. Likely would have been around 2 or 3 guy. Probably would have got $1 million. He wants in the $3 to $4 million range. So showed up on campus. I mean, but for COVID, Dylan Cruz probably never shows up. So my point is, and sometimes it happens. Like my point is with Romero, maybe something could happen. You get lucky and kid shows up on campus, but it's unlikely, right? that's likely a guy that's going to be a first round pick as a shortstop, signed for $4 to $6 million and go pro. So, let's see. Jason, no way Morgan gets out of first base. I bet a COVID shot. LOL. I will tell you straight up, Jason. Book it right now. Trey Morgan will not be a first baseman in professional baseball. Period. I can't say that any more clearly. There is absolutely no logic whatsoever in putting a fast, athletic guy with a good glove at first base. You know who played first base? I played first base. The fat kid who can't run. Hey, just slug home, be a dead pull hitter from the left side, slug doubles and homers, and just catch the ball when we throw it to you first. That's who plays first base, not Trey Morgan. Oh, man. Charlie Cavell, Hutco hat, what are those? Maybe, potentially, I got a meeting on Monday. Maybe potentially some really good news about Hutco hats. That's going to be able to accelerate our process of getting Hutco hats on more people's heads, which I'm very much looking forward to. Jason, I hear a new puppy. That is Hershey. Hirsch. See Hirsch? Hershey. Forgot Hershey. Hirsch. She's sitting right next to Drew. Of course she's not. Or laying with Erica. One of the two. Look who we got. Look who we got hanging out with us today. It's Hershey. Want to say hi to everybody? Hershey was, Erica's sleeping on the couch. And Hershey was like nestled up right in her L, like from her, like by her hip, her L and her legs and her body. This is Hershey. So Hershey belongs to the Andermans. That would be Eli, who my nephew plays baseball, and his sister Reese, who you all did not meet. So we were all on family vacation. They, of course, stayed in Tennessee while Eli finished playing baseball. And then they were driving from Tennessee to St. Louis to go to the U.S. gymnastics Olympic trials. So Reese is a gymnast, and so they're going to go watch the U.S. gymnastics Olympic trials in St. Louis tomorrow and then drive home afterwards, like through the night. They're crazy. But anyway, so we are watching Hershey while they're in St. Louis. Okay. Do you want to go? You can go back and see Erica. Okay. I know you want to go back and see her. I'm chopped liver. Chopped liver. Anyway. Mark, my dog came running into the room. She thought I was whistling at her. Thanks, man. Notice Hershey didn't move, didn't budge. I got walked in there and Hershey was just like laying on Erica's leg. Gave me one of these, like, are you really going to make me get up? Yes. Trivia, how soon does Matt get himself banned from having Jay Johnson on the show? Well, I'm pretty sure of this. I like the hire. I will be very complimentary of the hire. And until they play a game, I think we'll be on good terms. Oh, man. Matthew Godwin, the one good thing COVID brought us was Dylan Cruz. It's kind of true, Matthew. I mean, it really, like, it's not a guarantee per se, but had Cruz been able to play his senior year and put up numbers that Dylan Cruz likely would have put up his senior year, he would have never showed up on campus. So sometimes you get lucky, man. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of other programs that got kids to show up that otherwise probably wouldn't have. Cliff, Bama, A&M, and Florida will have first-year quarterbacks. I don't believe in it all. Ole Miss needs a defense still. I'm hoping Durante can turn the LSU defense around. LSU wins 10 or more, my take. So, Cliff, here's all right, that's one side of the argument. Here's the other side of that. Well, you're not beating Bama. I think we know that. Like, Bama had a first-year quarterback last year, and that worked out okay. They've had a first-year quarterbacks like 3 years in a row, and it keeps working out okay. So just forget about that. A&M, all of the odds makers are very high on A&M. And as much as we crapped on Kellen Mond, they may be better off with a new quarterback. And as far as Florida, Dan Mullen's a really good coach. And I think he'll maximize his offense, whoever's got a quarterback. As far as Durante, that for me is the biggest question mark nobody's talking about. I hope it goes exceptionally well. But y'all, Durante Jones has not been a defensive coordinator since 2009, and that was at the Division II level. That is a massive risk with boom or bust potential. I mean, maybe he's the exact guy they need, the young, energetic guy who's had a ton of experience, college and pro, been around some great defensive minds, the anti-Bo Pelini who was just catching a check, last one in the building, first one out. Like, maybe it's exactly what they need. Or maybe this job's too big for him. Like, maybe your first crack at a DC shouldn't be at LSU coming off a 5-5 season when you were the worst defense in the history of the program. You know what I mean? So, Cliff, I mean, my point is there's a counter argument to everything you're saying. Like, it's easy. Like, what fans will tend to do is accentuate the positive spin on their team and accentuate the negative for the other team, like you just pointed out, like the negative about A&M or Bama or Florida. Like, if you actually look at what those conversations are like for people talking about LSU, it's who's going to be your quarterback? I mean, your two quarterbacks have a combined 5 career starts, and the veteran one lost last year to Mississippi State and Missouri, by the way. Oh, your whole offensive line is back? Great. And they all stunk. Oh, by the way, do you have a running back? Do you even have a tight end on the roster? Oh, the big kid who had a shoe thrown last year? Got it. Got some good receivers, no doubt. Linebacker. Oh, you got a linebacker, a transfer? That's great. Didn't you do that last year with Jabril Cox? How did that work out? Oh, you're set at safety, right? Because you moved a cornerback to safety and got a transfer from Georgia who couldn't play there. So you're set at safety. You see what I mean? Like, I'm not telling you that's how I feel. I'm telling you, like, that's the conversation people are going to have on the flip side of it about LSU. So there's two sides to every coin. And typically, my opinion is if you bring up all those questions, generally, like, half of them will be answered to the affirmative and half of them will be answered to the negative, if that makes sense. And Swerve inked, Jabril Cox was not great. You're dead freaking wrong. He is an outside linebacker that they try to play inside, and he was lost. The only time that he actually played well was when they moved him outside and let him freelance, and that's when he got that interception against Mississippi State. That's when he got the pick against Arkansas. Like, he was not great. There's a reason Jabril Cox came into this past year with a potential first-round draft pick type grade and ended up falling into day 3 of the draft. Like, he was not great. That is just dead wrong. Like, just wrong. I mean, dude, you can go with a Pro Football Focus grade. Awesome. Go with whatever metric. Like, your eyeballs tell you what you saw. The defense was atrocious and he was not good. I mean, just what it is. He was out of position. I think he's going to be a great NFL player, by the way, in the right defense that will play him on the outside where he belongs. He's not an inside backer, never will be. Matt just pissed on everybody's LSU cereal. But I'm not, no, listen. My point is, because I'm not telling you I think all of that is going to go badly. I told you I think they're 9-3. I think they will be a 9-3 football team. Vegas has them at 8.5, over under 8.5. I think they're over. I think they are a 9-win team. So I'm telling you, like, I think that they're going to do well this year. It's going to be an improvement over what we saw last year. But like, what fans will tend to do is point out the negative about their opponents and accentuate the positive about themselves. But if you actually think about it, your opponents are doing the exact same thing to you. They're accentuating their positives and pointing out your flaws. And as I have found out over the years, like, you have, about a 50-50 proposition there, where some of them will go well and some of them won't. And you'll see which ones are most impactful and how it plays out during the season. Let's see. Charlie, there's a reason Cox was at an FCS school. That's a little bit, not exactly, Charlie. So Jabril Cox was playing high school quarterback and tore his ACL. So that's why he really didn't have many major offers. So he went FCS to North Dakota State and was friggin' awesome. He was an All-American there. But he came to LSU to prove he could play the step up in competition. He couldn't. I mean, it's a reason why he fell in the draft. I mean, he did not have a good season. Henry, Eli Holstein committed to A&M. It's crazy how quarterback-rich Louisiana is at the moment. True. And I'll tell you what's interesting about that, though, Henry. Because realistically, they're not going to get Arch Manning. And look, it's 2 years till they sign, right? But if Holstein sticks with his A&M commit, you don't get Manning or Holstein. Where's your guy for 23, right? We'll see. Let's see. Joey Vincent, this is why we like you, Matt, because you're real. Well, thank you, Joey. But again, like, I want to be clear. I'm not telling you that I think LSU is going to stink on both sides of the ball. I'm telling you I think they're going to win 9 games. But they do have very real concerns on this team. I mean, from a squad that went 5-5 a year ago and was literally the worst defense ever. I mean, you're still, like, you're not set at quarterback, even though fans are convinced Max Johnson's going to be a dude. Like, he's started 2 games in his career. You don't have a tight end. Like, I'm sorry, but Cole Taylor is not. I don't look at Cole Taylor and go, that's an SEC tight end today. Maybe Jack Besh comes in and plays some sort of hybrid role. That could be interesting to see. I have real concerns about the offensive line and real concerns about running back. Can a guy like Corey Kiner come in as a freshman and be a dude? I hope so. Would love to see that. No, you get 3 years of that guy at an elite level? Hell yeah. Or maybe this is the year that Emory or Ty Davis Price step up and come into their own, which would be awesome. It happened to Clyde. I mean, Clyde, when he finally got his opportunity in 2019, was incredible. So I'd love to see if that happened for Emory this year. I think he's the most likely. I'm really excited about the defensive line because I think you have numbers there. Getting guys like Neil Farrell and Glenn Logan to return, and you've got Ali Gay and B.J. Ojolari and Jaqueline Roy and Jacoby and Guillory, and then you're adding Mason Smith. Like, I like the numbers on the D-line a lot. Linebacker, I'm very concerned. I just don't think you're good there. Hopefully Mike Jones steps in and is a dude. Corner, you're fine, obviously, with Stingley, Ricks. I would love to see Jay Ward stick there, but I understand why if you're moving him to safety and you feel like you're better with him at safety. All right, let's load. And oh crap, did this just happen? Ogeron added as defendant in amended Title IX lawsuit. So this might have been what one of y'all were asking about earlier. An amended Title IX lawsuit against LSU adds LSU football coach Ed Ogeron as a defendant for failing to properly report an allegation of rape. Ashlyn Robertson is one of 3 additional women to have joined the lawsuit, which states in the fall of 2016, Robertson told her new boyfriend, who had been recruited to play for LSU, that then Tigers running back Darius Geis raped her. According to the lawsuit, Robertson's boyfriend disclosed the rape to Ogeron, who allegedly responded by telling Robertson's boyfriend not to be upset because everybody's girlfriend sleeps with other people. So now do y'all kind of understand where I'm coming from with all that? Like, and this ain't the end of it either. Like, my point is, there are very influential people at LSU who would like to make a change and fire Ed Ogeron with cause now. Like, I know that, and that's been the case for some time now. Which is why the point that I've continued to make is, considering that, the Title IX stuff, all of the stuff that happened culturally within the program last year, firing coaches, admitting that you didn't even interview them, like all of this sort of stuff. And then on top of it, you have a 5-5 season. Like, that's why I've said he's got to win. He's got to win big to feel comfortable. And even still then, maybe he won't be comfortable. I just saw that. That was 13 hours ago. So it had been like last night, about 10 or 11 o'clock. I didn't see it last night. So I'll tell you, do y'all remember, we're going long today. Huh, wow. As always, shout out to Brock and Hudco. If you're still watching with us there on YouTube, please hit the like button. Kale, who's our punter next year? Oh, with that statement, my question's out of place. I think the kid from West Monroe, Peyton Todd, the kid they signed, I think he'll be the punter. You don't give a kid a scholarship to be a punter and to just like sit on the bench, generally. So, do y'all remember? So this allegation is not new. It is just now being added to the Title IX lawsuit, but it's not new. Ed Ogeron did address this via statement some time ago. I know the player. It was a player that stayed at LSU for 1 year and then transferred. It was a scholarship player that stayed at LSU for 1 year and transferred. There was. So this was August of last year. This has been almost a year ago this story came up. Sorry, I wanted to find it so I could tell you exactly what. Here you go. So again, Ogeron released a statement last year. This was last August, August 21st, 2020. And Ogeron put this on Twitter. Out of respect for the young man's privacy, I will not reveal full details of the conversation. What I will say is that a player came into my office to discuss transferring from our program. We also discussed the player's relationship challenges with his girlfriend. I told him what I would tell my own sons. We all experience heartbreak growing up. Do not throw away a promising academic and football career at LSU because of a personal obstacle. Any insinuation that I had knowledge of Darius Geis and his girlfriend is completely false. The sexual assault allegations made against Geis should be taken very seriously, and the alleged victims must be heard and supported. I will always stand up for what is right. Without question, I have complied, will continue to comply with all University Title IX protocols and procedures. So that was last August. This is the situation, and you can probably figure out who that player is if you go time up the recruiting class from that year and the player who was here for 1 year and then transferred, and then LSU subsequently tried to block his transfer. You could go figure out who it is. He was an offensive lineman. You could figure out who it is. But so this isn't new. It's just now been added to the Title IX lawsuit. And the part of that could get Ogeron in his trouble is saying that he always complied and did what he was supposed to do. Well, if there was a rape allegation and you didn't report it to the Title IX office, then you did not comply. And so now he is involved in the lawsuit. So, I think I've told y'all forever, man, with this. It ain't done. A lot of Matt, stop talking about it. I'm telling y'all forever, man. It ain't done. Far from done. Far from done. Let's see. Blake Robinson, updated odds on Ogeron being gone by Halloween. You said 3% before. Yeah, Blake, I still don't Like, I still don't think that happens like mid-season. I don't think there's any precedent for that. And again, like the stuff today isn't new, is my point. Like, that's something that's been out there. Ogeron addressed it a year ago. It's just now been added to the Title IX lawsuit. Anyway. Matthew, now that he's been added, publicly outed, how does he keep his job at this point? So that's my point though, Matthew, right? Like, this isn't new. Like, this is something that was alleged and addressed by Ogeron a year ago. It's just now formally been added to the Title IX lawsuit. That's all. The player was Peter. It was not Peter Parrish, actually. Jason, it was not. So, no. Not this year, Jason. This was years ago when Darius Geist was still on the team. It was not Peter Parrish, okay? That's one of the tough parts about doing this, is that people then start throwing out names and anyway. Brian Wynn. How about the Cubbies throwing a combined no-hitter against the Dodgers Thursday? How about it, man? I actually tweeted. I was trying to jinx it, Brian. I tweeted at Hunt Palmer. I was like, hey, the Cubs are 1 out away from a combined no-hitter. Or 1 strike away from a combined no-hitter. And then Kimbrel got the strikeout. It's bummed. Anyway, all right, y'all. I think we're just about done. That's enough for this morning. We're at 1 hour and 37 minutes. Thanks to everybody for watching. If you would please, if you're on Facebook, Brock, Hudco, they're tagged in the post. Remember, if you need North Peach, the after hours clinic at Brock is open today. And of course, Hudco, HudcoRoofing.com, HudcoRoofing.com, HudcoRoofing.com. We are roofing this morning, as a matter of fact. So our crews are out there at Brendan Kluge's house roofing this morning. So y'all have an awesome day. I'm actually heading up to Natchitoches tonight, live on CST, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame induction. I will be one of the red carpet reporters live on CST. So y'all check us out, and we'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Peace. Hit the like button.